All right, everybody. Welcome to our Workforce Development in the Travel Industry session. I'm very excited that we have two very cool folks from the National Restaurant Association, Education Foundation, who are going to be sharing some of the programs that they have, and there's a lot of them. And then Lauren Bruggemans from Visit Greater Palm Springs is going to be sharing the work that they're doing around workforce development. I want to start by thanking our sponsors. Visit Lauderdale, Miles Partnership, Visit Greater Palm Springs, and LA Tourism. I want to, for those who came in late or for this session and weren't in the last one, please use the chat function. Stay on video if you can, because it's great to see faces. We will record when we're recording, and if you say, hey, I want to share something, but I'm not comfortable recorded, you can send me a chat personally, or you can ask for us to pause the recording. If you need to come and go over the course of these 2 days, we understand. And if you miss stuff, we will record the parts that we're recording. But if we're not recording stuff, you're not going to be here for that. So live your lives accordingly. I want to mention again that we have gotten to $700 of our $1,000 donation goal. Suggested donation of $20. Thanks to everyone who has given that or more. And if you want to help us reach the goals, again, we're 501c3, so all donations help us with our work. All right, with that, I want to stop sharing. And Jim or Patricia, I don't know who wants to start things off, but you both can share screen depending on how are needing to do this. Sure that I'm telling you the
I'm
truth.
starting us off,
Okay.
and then you all will get to pick what you hear more about. So there's an audience participation part, which is always exciting. So I'm going to share my screen. I have just a brief kind of intro of the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. I'm just making sure I'm grabbing the right screen. It's this one. Let's see. That's the wrong one. Is it sharing PowerPoint or?
I'm seeing a thing with someone with a mask. Oh,
Yep.
Oh yeah, that was the right one.
You're right. You're right.
it looked right.
It looked weird on mine. I don't know why.
It looked good to me, and I think Jim too.
PowerPoint
I think he was
slideshow.
vouching for it also.
Okay.
Looks good.
All right. If I start
Now it
showing
does.
any
Looking good on my end.
just let me know. So thanks for inviting us. We're from the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation, and we're just going to share a little bit about some of the workforce development in travel and hospitality that we're part of. This is, as you can probably already tell, a pretty informal presentation and discussion. So if people have questions, you can throw them in the chat, or Jim will grab them, or you can just say, excuse me. But I'll just give a quick overview of what we do and some of our programs and initiatives that we have, and then you can let us know what you want to hear more about. So I'm Patricia Gill. I'm the Director of Workforce Development here at the Foundation. And with me is the amazing Jim Wilson, who is our Director of Professional Advancement. So what we do at the Foundation is we really try to change lives and build careers through the power of the restaurant industry. So we invest in people and individuals, making sure that they have the information and resources they need for their career pathway. We also invest in communities, and we work with communities and organizations in those communities to really build those pathways. And then we work with industry to be a welcoming place for all of these amazing, talented people that are interested and ready to come into our industry. We envision this career pathway. One thing we heard from people is, I don't want to just get a job and then what? They really want to have an opportunity to move up in the industry. And we know that people do move up. Like most managers start at entry level, but people always wonder, like, how did they do it? And it's sort of like you stick around and you move up. But we want it to be a little more intentional than that. So we really looked at, how do people come into our industry? What makes them work ready? And so we have a program called Restaurant Ready that really focuses on individuals being work ready. And then once someone is in our industry, they can start developing hands-on competencies as well as training to become a professional. And we have a registered apprenticeship program. We actually have 5 of them through the Department of Labor, and Jim really leads that and can talk more about that if you all are interested. And then as they gather those competencies and get that related training instruction, they can move up and be a supervisor. We also have programs where we have members of the military who we provide training for, and also when they are leaving the military, help them get connected to civilian work in restaurants and hospitality. We also have a program called Pro Start, which is a high school career tech educational program for juniors and seniors, and helps them learn the basics of either culinary or restaurant management. And then people can go to college to get more competencies and more training, or they can come into the industry. And we have a lot of participants who come in entry level and then become like a shift leader, a trainer, a supervisor, a manager, and then can even move into the executive level. And it's all a matter of getting additional experience as well as related training to help you move up through this pathway. But there is a pathway in restaurants and hospitality for people who come and are interested and want to stay. Also, we know, and I always have to say this early on, that 3 out of 5 adults have worked in our industry, and for like 1/5 of them, I think it was their first job. So people come into our industry, sometimes they love it and they stay. Other times they come in and just get amazing skills for working with people, multitasking, all those things, and then they go into other industries. And we're happy either way because we want people to find what's their bliss and their joy and do it. And we're happy to help them develop the skills and competencies they need for that. So this is the part where you can type in the chat and let us know what topic would you like to hear more about. We have Restaurant Ready, which is our work readiness, work entry program. We have Hopes, Hospitality Opportunities for People Reentering Society, which is our programming for justice impacted individuals. That's a reentry program. We have some recent studies that we did on young adults in hospitality and why young adults come and stay or come and leave hospitality. We also have some career, technical and career advancement initiatives. We have Pro Start, which is our high school career tech program. And then we have apprenticeship. And as I mentioned, we have 5 registered Department of Labor apprenticeships in line cook, assistant kitchen manager, assistant restaurant manager, and restaurant manager. We can kind of do a brief overview of all of them, but if there's something that is really drawing your attention, let me know. Jim, are you monitoring the chat and
I
grabbing?
see it, Patricia.
Oh, Ronnie's got it.
Erica, who's actually Lauren's colleague, and Lauren also put in the chat young adults in hospitality and apprenticeships. And I'll say,
Perfect.
I'm very interested in the justice impacted part as well. Um,
Okay. So justice impacted young adults in
Patricia,
hospitality.
Jody wrote something here that I'm also curious about. Jody asked anything for people with autism um, and then Robin added other intellectual developmental disabilities.
Yes,
Karen has said young adults in Pro Start. So Patricia,
we're
I
gonna do it
think
all.
we've hit
We'll
on
just
pretty much everything.
we'll do the
And
whole car wash.
I did not put slides in about that, but we also did a recent project with Kessler. Actually, I can unshare my screen and reshare it and do a little bit about that too, because I have those slides up because I'm doing another presentation about that. But we actually did a whole disability project as well. So I'll pop to that in 1 second, but we'll start here. Um, and I'm just going to skip through Restaurant Ready just to give a base and then spend a little more time on Hopes, young adults disability. And then I'm going to hand over to Jim to talk about apprenticeship. And I'm going to do it all very quickly. So if you have a question, put it in the chat. Somebody will grab it. But I'm going to try to cover everything so that we can get to your deeper questions. So Restaurant Ready is our work readiness program. We worked with industry to find out what is it that they wanted people to come in and be able to do right away. We are in 35 states. These 5 competency areas, I'm not going to go deep into them, but what we really saw was it's really basic work readiness. And 5 of the areas: personal responsibility, communication, attitude, learning or learning mentality, and customer service really will work wherever you go. And then the industry specific skills really was like knowing front and back of the house positions, knowing about food safety and sanitation. and knowing about point of sale or how to interact with customers. And um, so our restaurant ready competencies really have people cover that and be ready to go into a restaurant. So within restaurant ready, we started to our sites that are in 35 states, they work with all different populations. We have some that work with veterans. We have some that work with people with disabilities. We have some that work with justice impacted individuals, some that work with people in foster care, some that work with um, unhoused individuals. We have some that are just in a specific community, like that's rural, maybe that doesn't have as many resources. So anybody who needs an opportunity to work, we do have programs that work with those individuals. Hospitality opportunities for people reentering society. That is our justice impacted program. And we've had several iterations of that funded by the Department of Labor and the Department of Justice. Some of them have worked with young adults, 18 to 24, both in facilities and in the community who are justice impacted. Others have worked with adults 18 and up and have started with people in the facility. In all the cases, we use something called a community collaborative model. And that's really about working with existing organizations in a community to build the pathway for justice impacted individuals. Um, and we'll share these slides after. So this is probably maybe not super easy to see, but we start with working with justice agencies, either to identify individuals or if they're in the facility also to get access to them. And then we have community-based organizations. So that would be anything from like a food bank to a job corps to just, you know, Jim Wilson's foundation in Richmond or something. Sometimes it's just a community organization that's started by individuals, and they really provide the restaurant ready training as well as the other supports that individuals need, whether it's transportation or identification or uniforms. And then what's really key to our model is in each state where we implement HOPES, we work directly with the State Restaurant Association. They're a key partner because they're really able to be both a credible messenger to industry as well as just a liaison to bring industry in. And so, you know, they'll reach out to industry and say, hey, we've who would like to hire from this talented group of individuals, and they'll get restaurants and hotels, et cetera, that say, yeah, we want to hire. And then they help to connect them to restaurant ready individuals who are ready to come to work. And then the community-based organizations provide follow-up for like 12 months to be sure, like, for example, if the person's car breaks down, that they can still get to work. Um, or if they're, you know, need a uniform or something, we can connect them to that, or if they need their serve safe training or something like that. So that's sort of how this model works. And as I said, at each place, we work with the State Restaurant Association and they identify a community-based organization and we work with whatever justice agency, whether it's parole, probation, state correctional facility, or a county or city jail. Um, and we've had amazing success with participants coming in. We've had people go work for everything from like Aramark or, you know, a large organization to like Joe's Pizza Place. And we've had a lot of great support and success working with hotels. Um, so that's been a really great partner as well. I am going to, for 1 second, unshare, and then reshare a slightly different PowerPoint because I can talk a little bit about our disability work since someone asked about that. Oh, so stop share. And then
And there definitely was an emphasis from a lot of folks on neurodivergence within that as well.
yes, and we do one of the partners, hold on here. It's always the technology for me. See if I can do this one.
I love the big spoon and knife in your background.
Oh,
I feel like
yes. We just had a conference and that was like a prop for the let's see, slideshow. Current slide. All right. Are you all seeing the slideshow or are you still seeing the
still seeing the like everything
oh,
thing
okay,
as
hold on.
opposed to the just the slides,
Let
not the
me
presentation.
Yes, again, I can tell you things, but it's always there we go. Got it. All right, now do you
Yep,
see?
now we're good.
Okay, let me go back one. So we did with funding from the Kessler Foundation, something called the Hospitalities Pathway Program, where we really looked at a lot of our restaurant ready sites were working with people with disabilities, some exclusively people with disabilities, and some just, and almost all of them had some people uh, who identified as having a disability in their participant group. So we worked those specifically with sites that really intentionally serve that population and identified like what were the best practices, what were successful strategies, what were some successful resources. Um, and so some of our partners, and I wanted to mention Dirt Coffee because they specifically work with neurodivergent individuals, as does Clubhouse Atlanta, and I think Peckham has more intellectual and developmental disabilities. Um, and we were a goal of enrolling 100. We ended up enrolling 122. We wanted to get 75% trained, but almost every single participant had training, and we wanted to get half employed, and we got a little bit more than half employed. And 80% of those went into in-industry jobs, and things like quick service, family style, fine dining, a lot in like healthcare and schools, like cafeterias and those sort of settings. And everything from like dietary aid to store manager to ice cream maker to line cook and lunch server.
Patricia, maybe it just is what it is, but what do you ascribe the higher numbers to than what you had expected or the initial goals?
Um, I a couple things. I think hospitality is a really appealing career pathway because there's so many different things you can do and it's such a welcoming industry. There's a lot of belonging and membership. One thing that we do know for a lot of people with disabilities, they are missing those like social opportunities and those social connections. And so this is the kind of workplace where you really do get that as well. Some of the key strategies that came out of it, and then I'll go back to the other is that for workforce programs to really have that individualized approach, you really have to identify like each person's competencies and what they want to do. That And I think this is for everybody. A lot of what we talked about was sort of that universal design approach. That really hands-on is key. You can hear about something, you can watch something, but the more you could do it, the more they could create work experiences and real life scenarios, mini cafes. That was really powerful. If there had to be that agency and ownership, we know people need to understand about their own disability and what works best for them and decide what they want to disclose when and what kind of supports they want. That once they're in the workplace, really focusing on their abilities and skills so that like and how they're a value to their employer versus like, oh, the whole charity approach isn't good. It's more about competencies, really matching each workplace to each candidate. Like we really had some candidates and who love being with people and talking to people, and they were great to be out front of the house. We had other people who really just wanted a task and wanted to do it, and they were better back of the house. So really identifying what people like to do and matching to that, and making sure that everyone at the company and the team member, I think y'all were talking about diversity and things earlier, and really having people in the team understand what this person's bringing to the workplace, that it's not a charity thing or just a diversity thing for diversity's sake, but diversity because of the value that's bringing to the workplace. Um, and that not only for that staff, but that there's value for customers and other employees and sort of this universal design approach, whether it's the physical space, having larger menus, brighter space, those sort of things that helps everybody. Um, and then for both customers and employees, just to ask like what kind of assistance someone needs. Um, and then some sort of ideas we had for people to get started is really to work with key partners, work with disability organizations and community groups that could really help people both find the talent and then also really support and grow the talent internally. having that prep of staff understanding this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing, and this is how we're doing it, making sure that they have the training and support and resources. Because a lot of times we found people wanted to like help or do something, but they didn't know what to do. And so really making sure they have the training, and then also making sure that that individual is able to tell people, what support they do want, if they want any or don't want. And then also making sure employers were aware of the different sorts of resources available for them, whether it's tax benefits or coaching or guidance, and having that funding for accommodations. A lot of times, I know large organizations like McDonald's, they have a pool for accommodations so that individual franchises don't have to say, oh, well, if I hire this person, it's going to cost me this much to, you know, raise the counter or raise the table or do this or that, and I can't afford that. Although most accommodations are free or cost less than $500, but still there's that fear for people of like, how much is this going to cost? Am I going to have to change my whole establishment? So making sure that there's clear information about that, and busting some of those myths and funding for that. So that was some of the things that we found were most effective. And we shared a lot of these practices with both our training programs and our employers, and connected them to a lot of resources. Because again, most people wanted to do it, they just weren't sure how, and they didn't want to um, unintentionally do something wrong that would make things worse as opposed to making things better.
Um,
Okay,
y-
but
quickly, I was just going to say, for anybody in the U.S., there are vocational rehabilitation agencies who can help with some of those costs and training and things like that too. Josh wanted to know, Patricia, about the Kessler Foundation. Could you share more context on the foundation you were talking about?
Kessler Foundation focuses on employment of people with disabilities and supporting that. And they fund projects related to that. Ours was more focused on young adults, but I think they have projects for focused on adults. They also do a lot of research.
And then Maria Rio Branco was asking if you've considered any European hospitality education schools to do a liaison, creating different perspectives on workplace and even more employment opportunities. So, is there any collaboration between NRAEF and European schools at all, or is that a kind of
There
development?
isn't. I mean, we wouldn't be against it. If you have someone you want to connect us to, please do. We've just right now, worked with our specific sites that we have in the States, and then work specifically, with Kessler Foundation, because that was who we connected to. But we have nothing against working with anybody. I mean, because we all just want to provide opportunities for people, right? They are a great industry. So
So, I would say if there's any last questions for Patricia or last thoughts from Patricia, great. Otherwise, I think if we let Jim talk about apprenticeships, that would probably be a good next step. Any
okay.
last things, Patricia?
I was going to do 2 seconds on young adults and then go to the amazing Jim.
Yep, feel free.
Okay, let me make sure I'm on the right one. Yes. Okay. Do, do, do. And so we also did a study on young adults, because we know that's can be a great group for our industry, but we also know that we were not seeing as many young adults maybe as we wanted to come into our industry, and we were trying to find out why. So we did a study with the Conrad Hilton Foundation on why young adults come into our industry, why they stay, why they leave. We did focus groups and surveys with over 1,000 young adults who had either were in our industry or had left our industry within the past 3 years. We also did interviews with employers to find out why they hired young adults or why they thought they couldn't hire them or keep them. Um, some of the main messages that are important, and as you all are thinking about inclusion and diversity and attracting them, young adults and community-based organizations need to hear that hospitality jobs can pay well, and that there are a wide variety of career options. There's a big sort of myth that, oh, you come in and you're just stuck, in the proverbial, like, do you want fries with that? And yes, you could come in that and you can do great in that, but there are other options. They need to know it's respected by society. This was a huge one that they felt like it wasn't valued, that it wasn't valued by their families. If they said, "Oh, I'm going to go work at a restaurant," people were like, Um, and that employers are improving work conditions. There's a lot of people who say, "Oh, I worked at a restaurant 10 or 15 years ago and it was terrible hours and people yelled at you." And, we find that that's not the case anymore in restaurants and hotels, but that's still the reputation. And for employers to know that you really do need to reach out specifically to young adults. It's not just like, here's a job, you're lucky to have it, but really appealing to what they're interested in, that letting them know that there are career pathways and that if they come in, you're going to support them being able to come in, stay in advance, um, and that having a safe, flexible, and supportive work environment attracts young adults and keeps them. And I'd say that attracts anybody. And here were the 5 reasons that young adults came to our industry. Valuable work that benefits society. They really wanted to know that this is valued and that it actually, you can do good, whether that's like you pick the 10% of your profits go here or just knowing that you're helping to feed people. That sense of belonging and support, I mentioned that earlier, that belonging and membership is really important. Fair compensation to address life's demands. And that's not just money, that's also like benefits and perks. I know when I was in law school, I was very poor and I worked at a hotel and I was able to come in and get breakfast there and get lunch there at my break and then have dinner. And that was a huge perk to me, being a poor law school student. Jobs that work for life. This is where it came in to have those flexible hours, so that they could pick up their kids or take their kids or do what else they needed to do. And then the big one too is knowing that there was a bright future and there were pathways. So that's some of the stuff we heard about young adults and how to attract and keep them. I am going to hand over to my good colleague Jim to talk to you. Oh, and we did develop some resources about our industry as well as some for young adults about hospitality pathways, as well as for industry about empowering young talent. And those 5 practices I mentioned, there's also some strategies and tips for each one. And now I'm going to ProStart is our high school program, but Jim is going to talk to you about registered apprenticeships. And Jim, you can just tell me when to go forward.
Okay. And we did have, I don't know, at least one or a couple people ask about ProStart. And so just so you know, ProStart is, as Patricia mentioned, it's a CTE program. It's a 2-year high school curriculum. The title of the textbook is Foundations in Culinary Arts and Restaurant Management. And that's kind of what it does, is it gives students a strong foundation, both in front of the house as well as back of the house. So they learn everything from cooking methods and knife skills to food costing and food safety and management techniques. So it really hits on both sides of the house. And it's used, as you can see here, 224,000 students in starting next school year. It will be all 50 states, as well as DC and the territory of Guam, as well as Puerto Rico now as well. And this is a great way to connect with the next generation of hospitality, of culinary. Every single state has a ProStart coordinator, and these coordinators can connect you with local schools, local teachers. You can do speaking engagements. You can have them come and do tours of your sites. It's a great way to really get them excited and show the different aspects of the industry, to show them that it's not just culinary, that the world of hospitality is really this expansive universe that they can take them in, a multitude of directions. Every year, each state puts on a state competition, one for culinary, one for management. Culinary competition, a team of up to 5 students, 4 actually doing the cooking with a team captain, has 60 minutes to create a 3-course meal, appetizer, entree, dessert, using nothing but 2 burners. They create the menu by themselves, they cost it out, and they have 60 minutes to create this meal. They create 2 versions of it, one for taste and one for show. And then we have a management competition where, once again, a team of up to 5 students, 4 participating with a 5th alternate or team captain, writes a business plan for a brand new restaurant. It could be anything from a food truck, food hall, or food court setting to a traditional brick and mortar. And then they pitch it Shark Tank style to a rotating set of judges that will quiz them on everything from their marketing plan. They cost out their menu, obviously. They do a SWOT analysis. We have judges that will throw curveballs at them. It's called critical thinking, where they will kind of give them a problem that might arise and how would they figure this out. The winners of each of those state competition goes to our national competition, which we just held last month. Actually, I guess it was earlier this month. It was the first weekend in May in Baltimore. If you're in the area, it's an amazing opportunity to see what they can do at the national level. But also, we're happy to connect you with, like I said, your state or local, Pro Start coordinator, so you could see it at the state level and get connected with that local Pro Start school. All right, now I'm ready to talk about apprenticeships. So the NRAEF or the foundation, we're what they call a national intermediary for the U.S. Department of Labor for the hospitality industry. And really what this means is the U.S. Department of Labor was looking to expand the use of apprenticeships into what they deem non-traditional fields. So essentially anything outside of the trades. So they partnered with associations to become the subject matter experts for those industries. So we, along with the American Hotel and Lodging Association, have created, now we have 8 different occupations that have been approved. Next slide, please, Patricia. So we have on the culinary side, we have line cook, kitchen manager, and restaurant manager, as well as assistant kitchen manager and assistant restaurant manager. Thank you, Patricia. On the AHLA side, they have banquet cook, maintenance manager, as well as lodging or hotel manager. And so what is apprenticeship? So really there are kind of 3 key pieces to apprenticeship. Number 1, an apprentice is an employee. So this is not an internship. This is not something where they're there for 6 weeks or even 6 months and then they're gone. This is for employees that you are looking to grow and retain within your company. So they are earning a wage while they are there. They must receive 1 wage increase throughout the process of their apprenticeship. Second part is that they will have a supervisor that oversees them. So that will give them the OJT or on-the-job training. So this is happening in every kitchen across the country already. You have supervisors that are working with their chefs to teach them those skills. And then the third part is they will receive related technical or related training instruction. So this is your serve safe. For our programs, obviously it's a lot more robust than just your serve safe. So they go through certified kitchen cook, they go through the serve success program, they go through a number of different training programs throughout their apprenticeship. So those are kind of the 3 key components to any apprenticeship. First of all, it's an employee that they're being paid. Number 2, they receive that on-the-job training or OJT from their supervisor. And then number 3, that they receive that related technical or related training instruction. And you can see some of the caveats. So as I mentioned, they must receive a wage increase throughout their apprenticeship. And then for that supervisor component, we have a maximum of 2 apprentices to each supervisor. We work with different states. Some states might have a different ratio where it's 1-to-1. Some will have more where it's 4-to-1, but we maintain that 2-to-1 unless the state requires a smaller ratio of that 1-to-1. Next slide, please. Now, what's in it for the employers? First of all, it expands their pipeline. So they can recruit from a number of our different programs. They can recruit from our restaurant ready sites, as Patricia was talking about earlier. We work with ProStart schools and ProStart students. It essentially is and in some states it is a registered pre-apprenticeship into our program. HOPES participants are great opportunities. We work with workforce development boards across the country to identify potential apprentices. But really, most of the time we see this for use with current or incumbent employees and an opportunity to upskill them. So identifying somebody in your organization that is showing promise, showing want to stay in this industry, this is a great way for them to have a roadmap to where they're going to be. So, you're coming in as a dishwasher, as a host, as a waiter, but you really want to become a manager. This provides not only the restaurant, but that apprentice, the roadmap of how they're going to get there, what they need to do to attain that. And then this addresses barriers to learning and promotion. An issue with our industry, most of our restaurants are small businesses. So we don't have an HR team or sometimes an HR person. We don't have a training person or training team. We provide an out-of-the-box training program that you can provide to your apprentices, to your employees at no cost. Through our contract with the U.S. Department of Labor, we're able to provide our training program at no cost. And then, the true purpose behind apprenticeship is to retain those employees. And so we have an 87% retention rate with our apprentices in the restaurant manager track. Next slide, please. Oh, hit that. And we already hit that one, so we are good to go. We have, I will put my contact information in the chat. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. And then I will pass it off.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody have any last questions? I know Wilma had asked if you've got contacts in Louisiana, and then Patricia, Josh was looking for a Kessler connection, and Maria had put her info to connect about Europe. So if there aren't any other questions for NRAEF, it's Lauren's turn. Cool. All right. Lauren Bruggemans from Visit Greater Palm Springs. The floor is yours. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to try to share. That's always a really non-clunky process. So let's see what happens. Do my best here to make it look good. Let's see.
It's like a beautiful sunny day where you are.
It is. It is beautiful and sunny. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, great. All right. Again, thank you so much for the time here. My name's Lauren Bruggemans, and I'm the Director of Sustainability and Community Engagement at Visit Greater Palm Springs. We're in California. I find I have to say that with a group from all over the U.S., not Palm Springs, Florida, or Palm Springs, California. So really happy and pleased to be here with all of you. I come from a restaurant and hospitality background. My dad was a hotel GM. I grew up in a hotel, and I'd been seeing these wonderful messages and careers in hospitality my whole life. My dad started as a room service server and made his way to GM by the time he was 26. Hospitality is in my bones and in my blood. We've lived all over the world, but our home has always been in Palm Springs. And it's a real privilege for me to be back in Palm Springs, contributing to community and helping people see the wonders of careers in hospitality and how rich a career in hospitality can be. So just a little bit of a level set here just on Visit Greater Palm Springs. We're a regional DMO representing 9 cities of the Coachella Valley. With 350,000 full-time residents. Tourism and hospitality is our #1 industry. In 2023, we had over 14 million visitors. 1 in 4 jobs, over 50,000 jobs, are tourism and hospitality related, and that was a $9 billion economic impact to our region. I was hired in 2022 as the Director of Sustainability, there was an investment made in this position because really we were going beyond destination marketing. You know, that's of course at the core of what we do. We were formed to really move forward the tourism and hospitality industry in our region, but we've also delved into the other, you know, topics that you see there on the screen. You know, diversity, equity, and inclusion, sustainability, accessibility, cultural heritage, workforce development, youth engagement and education, and now we've just added on economic development for the region as well. And we really embrace this holistic vision of sustainability. We're looking at the, you know, the socioeconomic impacts, the environmental impacts, and the sociocultural impacts of tourism in our community. Our ethos is really to ensure that everyone in our community feels tourism and hospitality in a great way, that it affects their life positively, and that they really feel that they're a part of this ecosystem, which is such a strong and big part of our community. So our workforce development goals, you know, it's great, Jim and Patricia, to see that we were correct in creating our strategy and our approach to workforce development. There's kind of three pillars to it. It was, you know, strengthening the pipeline between education and industry. So strengthening those relationships, because oftentimes folks in education are not really talking to folks in industry. You know, it's a bandwidth issue, I think, from both sides. So we really act as the conduit between education and industry and get folks together in a room to talk and to see how they can collaborate. We also understood as well that we needed to provide opportunities for growth and advancement to our current hospitality employees. We encounter those negative stigmas here in our community about hospitality careers, that it's just either it's very narrow or that there's just no options. There's no ability to move up and to become managers and leaders in our community. So we wanted to dispel those narratives. And then we also knew to grow this sustainable, engaged workforce, we needed to start young. We needed to get young people engaged and involved in the hospitality industry. And we wanted to share that message you mentioned of there are lots of different pathways and opportunities in hospitality. And we needed to get them working as well so they could experience it themselves. Ultimately, the main goal here was to grow our leaders locally. We wanted communities in the Coachella Valley, young people in the Coachella Valley to, again, feel that they could be the leaders and the managers in our industry. Because, you know, like a lot of resort towns or communities that are primarily hospitality focused, a lot of our talent at the highest levels they're transitional. They're coming in and out. We're hiring from outside our community for the highest levels for those GM roles or director roles. You know, long-term success for us is those roles are going to be filled by folks from our 9 cities. So the way we approach it, workforce training, we have a tourism foundation. We created a partnership with College of the Desert's PACE program. That's their partnership and community education arm. And we provide scholarships for folks in our workforce to take the courses that you see. So there's a Teen GPS Champions course. That's our destination ambassador training. It also has customer service threaded into that. We have a fostering inclusion course with Travel Unity. They provide that content. And then Leadership Institute, and that's for emerging leaders, leaders just at the start of their career to really propel themselves to the next level. And we're working now on a level 2 of that, and that's called it's a Visionary Leader Certificate, and that'll be for higher level leaders, managers, even directors that are wanting to get into the C-suite or the GM level, and that's going to be pretty robust. And then we also convene, as I mentioned, I think, you know, these opportunities for folks from education and folks from industry to get together. We have quarterly workforce readiness committee meetings with champions from our industry, generally HR directors, and then again, representatives from our K through 12 school districts and higher education institutions. I just realized as well that I wanted to share videos, but I didn't click those little boxes that says optimize sound. So would you like to see videos, or should we just, yes, you would like to see videos? Okay, well then I'm gonna have to stop the share and re-share. So I'll do that right now. Hold on one moment. Does anyone have any questions, I guess, while I'm sharing again?
You did get Jazz saying that she was very excited to see Greater Palm Springs here because you were committed to this diversity and community work. So less comment, more vigorous back patting.
All right, wonderful. Love that. Let's share.
Or less question, more
Okay.
comment. Yes.
All right, share sound. That should work. Let's try it because I wanted to share a video here of one of the tools that we use to attract folks to our industry. So this is a spot that's going to be showing on TV and on smaller cuts for social media.
In hospitality and tourism, you get to create moments that last a lifetime. That's hospitality. So is this. And even this. Who knew there was an art to feeding a giraffe? In hospitality and tourism, you're the bridge between visitors and the wonders of the Coachella Valley, ensuring every stay becomes a story to tell. Start crafting your masterpiece.
All right, again, those themes of there's lots of pathways, there's lots of careers, hospitality, the ecosystem is broader than you think it is. This is another tool that we use. We did a hospitality wages survey of our management and leadership positions. So we use this when we're, talking to folks in workforce or in our youth spaces to share, the possibility and the opportunity with, the right tools and training that they can reach these salaries and these management level roles. Let's move over to youth engagement. We created this to really show that it was it's a continuum of education, of engagement rather. So we're starting, 8th and 9th grades, right, with these relationships with our school districts. So we're doing field trips. We're giving presentations to students. We have a great relationship with a nonprofit partner called One Future Coachella Valley that does a lot of youth work and regional pipeline work. Then in 10th, 11th, and 12th grades, we have a student hospitality day, which I'll tell you about in a bit, and a high school summer leadership program, and that's for rising seniors. And then when we're getting into post-secondary college and career, we have a scholarship program, which I'll also share a bit about. And our Tourism Foundation, we're creating a youth advisory board this year to ensure that our programs are, again, guided by youth, are vetted by youth, and that we're in the right spaces and in the right places where we're reaching young people. So I mentioned Student Hospitality Day. This was a pilot event for this year on April 1st. We had 100 high school sophomores from across the Coachella Valley come together, all of our school districts. We have 3 of them. And we created a sort of mini conference for them. We had 30 industry partners engaging, and they cycled through 4 sessions. One was called Hospitality 101, where they learned about the diverse career possibilities in hospitality, but also learned some, we no longer call them soft skills, I guess. They're, 21st century employability skills. But, they learned about, creating a resume, and, they stood up and they did handshakes, and they learned the 5-10 rule. If anyone, we're all in hospitality here, I think, if maybe you've heard of that 5 and 10 rule about smiling and greeting someone and just these sort of, engagement and public speaking and networking techniques. It was super successful. The other sessions, they were, sales and events, marketing and social media. And then also there was a professional journey series where they heard the stories of folks from different hospitality careers. Every session was interactive and experiential. Our work with youth over the last years has shown us that young people need to be engaged. They need to get up, not a lot of talking at them, but really getting them, up and sort of engaged. Again, you see these students here on this picture in front of a banquet table. We had a table setting competition with a local a catering company. They had to set up a table. They were in a little bit of a competition. I realize it's 12. I'm so sorry for taking your time, everyone. I'll end quickly in the last 5 or so slides here. In 2024, we piloted a summer leadership program for 6 students from Coachella Valley High School. That was in partnership with Travel Unity. They created a fantastic playbook for us to create this program. Again, that was for rising seniors. They were with us for 2 days a week. One day was in our office, learning again those employability skills, team building. It was project based. And also hearing directly from industry speakers. The second day, we took them on a tour of the Coachella Valley, of a behind the scenes tour of the airport, of our local arena, the tennis gardens in our area, a theater, a hotel. So they got to see all of the different paths in the industry. And then they did a weekly check-in on Friday to do a deep dive. At the end of it, these students presented to their school superintendent, teachers, and family the difference that we saw between week 1 and the end of week six was astounding. It was incredible to see their confidence, their build, their public speaking skills build, and really that we converted them into, a career in hospitality. 4 out of the 6 students have decided to pursue careers in hospitality and tourism. They are going to, 2 are going to local community college in their hospitality program. 2 are going to a local university for their hospitality program. At the end of the program, the students, they've received a stipend for their time. We also find that with young people, and when you're thinking about equity, and we wanted young people to be remunerated for their time with us. So they got a certificate. They also got professionally designed business cards at the end, a gift bag, and then again, that program stipend to compensate them for their time and joining this program. Kids could do other things during their summer program. So we were grateful to have them in ours. Here's just a little video, it has some testimonials from 2 of the students in the summer leadership program, so you can hear a little bit about their experience.
It's really important for us at the Tourism Foundation to help young people see that there are diverse and numerous pathways in the industry. And we really see it as our job to showcase the breadth and richness of these careers to young people, to really get them excited about being the leaders in this dynamic and vibrant industry.
I think the course was important because my idea of hospitality was limited to food and beverage. The course taught me about a bunch of different aspects of hospitality, but the one that I gravitated more to was definitely marketing. I learned a lot about what hospitality can be.
Every week we would have a new area that we would learn about, so food and beverage, human resources, all that. It helped me realize that I want to be in human resources. It's a really good experience to have, and I would want to do it again.
Yeah, we're expanding that program this year. We'll have 12 students this summer, and all 3 school districts will be joining. This was only 1 school district. So we love those students. They're graduating next week, actually. So we're so excited to see what they will do. We do have a scholarship program for young people that are pursuing higher education that is focused on hospitality and tourism, $5,000 for university, $2,500 for community college. We're giving out about $35,000 to $45,000 a year for this specific program. We also, the time with our scholars, we try to connect them to opportunities. That's the pledge we make to our scholars, not just that we're sort of going to give them the money and leave them. We follow them. This year we've actually had scholars will join us to go to industry conferences. One of our scholars is coming up with us to DI annual convention in Chicago. So that's another, I think, really valuable opportunity. I didn't go to my first conference, I think, till I was in my 30s. So I think getting young people to industry conferences and experiences at a younger age can kind of inspire and excite them as to what they can look forward to. Another small video, I promise it's my last. It's just, hearing from some of our scholars.
One Future Coachella Valley and the Tourism Foundation have partnered to support more students in pursuit of a post-secondary education in hospitality. Over the last 2 years, the partnership with the Tourism Foundation has allowed us to support more than 40 students with scholarships.
When I found out I was getting a scholarship, I was just overjoyed. I'm so appreciative of the Tourism Foundation as well as One Future Coachella Valley for allowing me the opportunity to have an opportunity and just to give me a chance and to actually believe in me. And I'm just so very appreciative of him.
The scholarship not only provided me with the financials, but it provided me with a lot of networking opportunities. Thank you to the Tourism Foundation and One Future Coachella Valley. They have been so supportive in connecting me to the right people and kind of guiding me in my next step towards my future.
Both of those scholars are doing great after they graduated from CSUSB. Alejandra is now a management trainee with a Weston property, and Matthew January is also a supervisor with a Weston property as well. Just some success factors here, building relationships with the school districts and their directors of career technical education. They're kind of responsible for those academy pathway programs, has been really valuable. And it's not always, I think about, we're a big organization and we have a big budget, but I think for even smaller organizations, just creating these relationships can be very valuable, and showing up in other ways. It's not always about giving or donating. It's just about showing up with your time and being there for students. That really makes a huge difference to these educational institutions. We collaborate as well on grants all the time with College of the Desert's PACE program and the K-12 school districts to add pathways or add programs. I mentioned it, but inviting students to conferences, experiences, to be part of our Team GPS Champion program, that has kind of grown that program, but also gets young people excited about hospitality earlier. The Workforce Readiness Committee has seen a lot of success. Again, these folks are often not in the same rooms together, so giving them the space to create their own relationships has been valuable. And then strategic partnerships with consultants like Travel Unity or One Future Coachella Valley, who I mentioned, have really eased the way and given us the space and bandwidth to do this work. So thank you. And if you have any questions.
We've got one,
No.
and then we will wrap up after that. Liz wants to know, does getting young people involved in tourism and hospitality help with the community understanding the importance of these industries?
Definitely. I think that's they're interwoven, really. I think we find a lot of parents in the community. Their parents are hard, are tough, right? Because a lot of the stigmas come from them. I think there's certainly some cultural pieces of that, but also a lot of parents were in hospitality and they went through COVID. So for them, they were wary. So I think sharing the messages with young people who are then sharing the messages with their parents. I didn't mention it, but also, a lot of our outreach is in Spanish, on the radio, different mediums. So we're trying to reach parents and students, but certainly I think our youth engagement work goes a long way in our community for a number of reasons.
Cool. All right. We're going to wrap this session. So thank you so much to Patricia and Jim and Lauren. I want to thank our sponsors, Visit Lauderdale, Miles Partnership, Visit Greater Palm Springs, and Los Angeles Tourism. And again, if you haven't donated, we'd love it. If you aren't, that's fine, because it's a free event with a suggested donation. So with that, we're going to wrap up this, stop recording, and move on to our next session. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.